I just woke up. Or maybe that was the 49ers waking up in the first half and coming back to win the Super Bowl. You've got my guest, Shannon Smith, here. We're going to break the whole game down right after this. Man, what a game.
Yes, sir.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Camper Report. I can't believe it. The Niners did it. They finally got over that hump. They finally got the NFC Championship game after 2 straight years of us losing. Last year, we all thought we had the bad hand, and because of Brock Purdy getting injured. And then the year before that, the legendary Jimmy Garoppolo / Jaquiski Tart. I'm going to say, well, I guess I'll cuss. The fuck-up game in 2021 when they both played terrible. The Jaquiski Tart dropped interception. Jimmy Garoppolo just not doing very well. So after those 2 years, things were down, and then we win an NFC Championship game today. Joining me is Shannon Smith. You can... Actually, I'll just let you promote yourself. How are you doing today? You're a Niners fan as well. I texted just kind of... I tweeted out, does anyone want to join me for a post-game show next week? And you responded. And so I'm grateful to have you. How are you doing today after this absolutely historic Niners win?
Man, I am better than good. I was a little worried that the very first time I was ever going to be live talking Niners football, it was going to be after a loss to a very important game. But I was worried, man. I was like, come on, man. I had this whole thing prepared about how we were going to do it, how we did it, all this other stuff. And now I'm throwing that out the window. But you can catch me on my Twitter /X podcast Smitty, which is being shown. I'm getting into the podcast game for the very first time. But you can also catch me on the Cat Cave with Tobacco Road Sports Radio, tobaccosportsradio.com, with my good friend Ryan Frick and Michael Davis. You can catch me there. So talking Panthers football, since I'm a North Carolina guy, I talk Panthers football, but, always been a 49er fan, been a 49er fan since I was 5 years old. Saw the great man Jerry Rice play a professional game, and I said, that's who I want to be like. That's the player that I love, and I've been a 49er fan ever since.
Yeah, that's cool. I kind of, my first memories of the Niners, I don't even know exactly. I can't, because it was so long ago, because I started liking them when I was like 5. But my first memories were, I think, the 2013 Super Bowl run in the playoffs before they made it. Yeah. But in the playoffs were kind of my first memories there. And so then I've been a Niners fan ever since. We've seen our dark days under Kyle Shanahan. It's been pretty good. But guys, if you, like he said, with all those things that he is on, the links for most of those his socials should be in the description. So go check that out, everyone. Before I usually try to ask guests this before we start the show. I also grew up in the South, in North Carolina. And I just want to say, like, what do I call you? Because in the South, it's a lot more like Mr. and Mrs. Do you want me to just call you Shannon? What's the...
Yeah, call me Shannon. Yeah, okay. Call me Shannon.
Okay, cool. So let's get to some of the comments. I'm honestly in absolute shock, but we're going to try to get through this show. Calvin's Hobbs says, bang, bang, Niner gang. Evoke says, OMG.
Yes, sir.
Evoke says, I died. Yes, I did. I honestly had given up all hope at halftime.
Man,
Dan Campbell, rough. Niners MVP. He gifted the Niners 6 points. He did. Mm-hmm. That missed the field goal that he declined to kick. His ballsiness coming back to bite him. It's crazy.
No doubt.
And then Moody gifted 3 to the Lions. Yeah. We need to do something about our kicker, man.
Man. Robbie Gould, where are you at, man? Come out of retirement, man. One more time. Come on.
Please. RJ, I think you're new to the show, so welcome in. I cried last week and cried tonight. Yeah. I didn't exactly do that.
Happy tears, hopefully.
Yeah. So
It was happy
let's
tears,
get into
hopefully.
it. What are your initial thoughts on this game? I know this is a lot to unpack, but I mean, I guess we could start with the defense. What kind of you saw? Like,
Yeah,
we're gonna
we can.
kind of have a separate topic to Brock's performance, but what did you think of the defense? I know that Ambry Thomas I injured. I don't know what it was at the end of that game, but that should be something to
Yeah,
look ahead to, kind of keep an eye on, because he's not the greatest cornerback, but without him, we're not deep at that position at all. So it's going to be
right.
key to kind of keep track on that. But other than that, what are your kind of thoughts on this performance? The first half was very lackluster, and yeah, you take it from here.
Hmm. Well, that first half, take where you came from. The first half, it was very, very lackluster, like you said. Defense went to sleep a little bit because the running game is what was killing us. Because the Lions have a very elusive running game. Gibbs running the football very well. Those guys are incredible. I got to give it to Detroit's offense. I said it. My good friend Ryan Frick, who's on the show with me, is a Detroit Lions fan. And I told him that his Lions were on a mission. No, not the Detroit Red Wings, not the Detroit Pistons, and definitely not the Detroit Tigers, who finished second in a cupcake division. Looking at you, American League Central. Those guys were not good at all. But the Lions have been pretty much the hope for Detroit, Michigan. Michigan did win the national championship, but the Detroit Lions, they have a very gifted offense. Jared Goff, we've seen this guy as a Ram, and he played us very, very tough. He played great in this game. The receiving core was incredible. This offense was an offense that San Francisco has not seen this year. We had shades of it with the Ravens, of course, in the regular season. The Bengals, when the Bengals were actually getting better at that time, was like an offense that was like close to this. And this offense was fast. They come out the gates. They come out the blocks like fast. They threw everything at the defense. Like the playbook was being thrown at them. Trick plays were being thrown. They were running with their receivers. They were throwing screen passes. They were catching the defense on their heels. And that's what it was. It was great coaching in the first half. But that second half, though, that second win, when people talk about Kyle Shanahan's offense is not tailor-made to come back. 2 playoff games, 2 comebacks. Anything else? What else? But that defense played very well, getting the key takeaway, which was big.
Yeah.
Stopping them on 4th down 3 times.
Yeah, exactly.
They played incredibly well. That second half was a very good second half. So props to the defense. Props.
I mean, I just want to, I mean, the first half, I feel like I don't know what, I feel like this game was definitely the Niners making the right adjustments at halftime, but I also think it was on the coaching of the Lions. And this is why I think veteran coaches that have been here before kind of know what to do. Because I feel like in that first half, it's like the Lions came out running the ball. They knew what Ben Johnson and Dan Campbell knew what the Niners' weaknesses and strengths were. They had the perfect game plan in the first half, and the Niners could not stop it. And I think the Niners also kind of came out not like, because there were a few times where they would show aerials of the formations or whatever before the snap. And the Niners, especially in that second half, were playing a lot more single high safety, 10 men in the box, just clogging the middle, right? First half, didn't see a ton of that. I saw a lot of trying to stop Amon-Ra St. Brown. But the problem with that was Jared Goff. So basically, they were running the ball up our throats, and then they would just do a play action, and they'd get it to Amon-Ra St. Brown no matter what. Like, it didn't matter in that first half how much we tried to stop that slot position. It didn't matter how much we tried to stop him. They were still going to find a way to get it to Amon-Ra St. Brown, as well as shoving it down our throats. And that's mainly because they were doing a lot of play action. And so second half, it's like we start loading the box, we start blitzing at key moments, timely moments. Again, I don't have the exact notes or plays on me because I was just so caught up in the game. I wasn't like, I was just like, but when I go back and watch film, I'll probably try to break down the different plays a little bit more. But the timely blitzes, Nick Bosa, the big complaint with him in this game was, last game was, I mean, he wasn't as much of a factor. Like, he's getting paid $34 million. And last game, he didn't even have a sack. He had a few pressures that were key. But in this game, Nick Bosa elevated his play to another level that, frankly, I haven't seen him do in the playoffs in his career. In 2019, he might have been good in the playoffs. But the thing is in 2019, he had a way better defensive line. This is what makes players great, and is when they can put their position group on their backs and make key moments. And I mean, 2 sacks tonight, I believe it was, tons of key pressures. And then Dre Greenlaw got injured early in that game, came back, still played like a force, still was hard hitting. Just an absolute masterclass in the second half. And like I said, the Lions, I feel like got the right game plan in the first half, but I don't know, second half, they kind of started going away from the run a little bit because it wasn't working as much. I still feel like that was the wrong decision. What do you think?
Yeah, it was working for them because the run was what threw the defense off guard when they were running the football, because they were running to the left, they were running to the right, they were running delayed handoffs, they were pitching it, they were running it in the A and B gaps. They were hitting the defense. It was basically saying, we're running the football, why don't you stop us? There was no finesse to that. They were hitting the guys really hard. They were hitting the defense. They were hitting all the gaps, and it didn't matter who they had in there. And the ball was being moved 10, 11, 12 yards. They were eating up the yardage. You know, they come back from 3rd and long twice in the second. Like, they come back from 3rd and long one time.
Yeah.
No, it was 2 times in the first half. It was 2 times. It was. And it looked like every single time that the defense had the Lions against the wall with 3rd and long, it didn't matter. They were running the ball. They ran the ball on 3rd and 12 and got a first down. It was like everything that they did, it worked. The defense was on their heels. Secondary was having trouble making reads. Our linebackers were having trouble. You know, Fred was on an island in certain plays. Like, Sam Laporta was open underneath a good bit because they were sending the receivers deep. And Sam Laporta was underneath. And it was hard to watch. It was like they were preparing more for the pass because Detroit was running on passing downs. When the defense was getting into passing formations, that's the reason why they were able to get first downs, because they were out coaching the defense. They were running the ball when they weren't supposed to. And then later on, they were doing bootlegs. And, you know, Goff's got a little bit of feet on him. You know, he's a spring chicken, basically. Still, he can run the ball. He's got feet. And he was able to roll out and able to find them on the run, able to find St. Brown on the run. It was just easy for them. But the second half, it just looked like, you know, the 49ers chunked that up to good coaching. Steve Wilkes did a wonderful job putting 8 and 9 guys in the box, going after Jared Goff, going after the running game, clogging up the holes. Every time they had to bounce out, and every single time there were 2 red jerseys there to get them. Every time.
Yeah, that's true. And the thing is like, Jared Goff, he's a very short pass game quarterback. Yes, he can make some big plays with his arm, but at the same time, if you have a defensive lineman like Nick Bosa, who's consistently getting home and having the game of his life, you kind of have to lean into that. You kind of have to trust that we're going to take away all the short stuff with Jared Goff, and we're going to trust that Nick Bosa that he's on fire and he's going to do what he does best. And that's sack the quarterback and get pressure on him. And that's exactly what they leaned into in the second half. I also feel like, okay, I want to quickly ask you, because I know maybe we'll get into this a little bit later.
Go ahead.
But do you think Christian McCaffrey is all right? You saw that land on his head. I mean, we still have 2 weeks. Did you see that? the injury at the end?
Yeah, I did. My good friend Kirk, he messaged me and we were talking back and forth the whole time before he actually went to
Mm-hmm.
sleep. And then after that, the 49ers started coming back. He's like, I take a nap for a few minutes and then all of a sudden it's a tie game. But he told me, he said, why does Christian McCaffrey run on his head? And I said, he gives the he gives a new meaning to the phrase downhill runner. He does. But I think Christian McCaffrey's okay. I mean, we do have 2 weeks into the Super Bowl, and I think that he's not going to miss this game for the world. I love CMC when he was at Stanford, when Carolina drafted him. I was like, they got a game breaker in CMC, and I was so happy when my guys were able to get him from Carolina. And I'm glad he didn't go to the Rams. If he would have went to the Rams,
Yeah.
and the Rams had the money for that dude, I was so scared. I was like, the Rams are going to get them and they're going to kill us. But thankfully, John Lynch was able to pull the right strings and make the right move. And he went to San Francisco instead of Los Angeles. And that was great. But I think he's fine. I mean, he's got to be careful. He does. But, tell that to a man who is running wild like CMC and see what type of answer you get.
Right. Guys, if you guys are watching this on Twitter, I'd appreciate it if you come over to YouTube, get this video a like, give this video a like, and it would really help. I don't usually say that, but it would definitely really help the stream. I will say, so going back to the initial topic, I don't know, because it's so weird, because it's like, was it the 40, and this is where you kind of have to go back and watch. Was it the 49ers offense that really started, or offense that really started coming, maybe that really started getting more creative? Or was it the Lions? I don't know what changed. And especially on the offensive side of the ball, like I said, they kind of went more to the pass game, but they also, like Jameson Williams, the 49ers, one thing that they showed their defense in this game is they still have a problem with speed. Just like they did a few years ago in the Super Bowl versus the Chiefs. So why did the Lions go away from Jahmyr Gibbs, maybe throwing screens to him? Why did they go away from, getting Jameson Williams out in space with end arounds? It's like, maybe Dan Campbell got a little emotional. I mean, we all want to point back to the turning point to this game was when they went for it on fourth down. And there were times that, so all the way up really until the fourth quarter, I was like, when it would be like a 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3, I was like, to the people that were watching it with me, I would be like, it's a 3rd and 3. And if we stop them on this down, they potentially kick a field goal. But I was so afraid that, because a 3rd and 3 for the Lions in this game up until the fourth quarter was like nothing, They were just running through us so badly in the run game. And so,
yes.
And then we had that drive where we stopped them on fourth down. And the play before that on like a 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3, I was like, yeah, it's 3rd and 3. And I was fully expecting them to score another touchdown, because I was like, we have not stopped them on 3rd down all game long. And that stop, for the first time, we stop them on 3rd down, and then we stop them on 4th and short, which I was shocked, because we had not been doing that all night. And then it's just like, and that was really the turning point where I was like, wow, our defense finally made a stop. It was crazy. So, Calvin's Hobbs says, so happy for Trent Williams.
I think the defense did open the door. I got to go with you on that one there, Ben, because the defense did open the door.
Yeah. I think there's my bad. I think there's a slight,
read that.
I think there's a slight overlap between our audios. I think we're slightly out of sync a little bit here.
Yeah, it might be.
So maybe.
Sorry about that.
So happy for Trent. Yeah, no, you're good. So happy for Trent Williams, 14 years, and will be going to his first Super Bowl. Yeah.
Yes.
Calvin's Hobbs says no, because they ran Mitchell. I mean, Mitchell ran that last touchdown, but I'm a little concerned. There are two players, Ambry Thomas and Mitchell. Ambry Thomas and Christian McCaffrey, who are Ambry Thomas, I mean, I don't know if it was a knee injury. It was something to do with his leg. It's like I said before, he's not the greatest player, but we need him for sure, especially against the Chiefs. CMC needs these 2 weeks to recover. Calvin's Hobbs says for sure. And then David McNiner, let's fucking go Niners. I don't know. I don't usually cuss on this show, but I guess for this show I will, just because it was crazy. Super Bowl Ben, Niner Fanatic Podcast. Shout out to you, Pete. Great guy. Go subscribe to his channel. I'm gonna have to have you on again. That definitely a great content
man. We're doing
creator.
this again. We're doing this again. Yeah, we're doing this again. Do it again.
Okay, so let's get to your thoughts on Brock Purdy's performance real quick before I go. Since you are on the East Coast, I'm assuming, what's your time limit here for this show?
I got nothing but time, man. We can do this as long as we want. I got nothing but time.
Cool. Your thoughts on Brock Purdy's performance? We've kind of broken down the game a little bit. Let's get into Brock. This guy, I think, put to bed some of the, he threw a pick early on, but he put to bed some of the rumors, or not rumors, but just false accusations against him. And this guy was playing like prime Russell Wilson, 2013 Russell Wilson at the end of that game. There were like 3 or 4 times where it was third down, second down. It didn't matter. He was under pressure. He was escaping. He was taking off and running. He was getting that first down. Just an absolute insane performance by Brock Purdy, especially at the end of that game. Really came alive. What do you think here?
I've got 262 reasons why everybody needs to chill on Brock Purdy. And I think you know why I said 262 reasons, because that was the number he was picked at. He was picked in the 7th round, 262nd pick in the 2002 NFL draft. They called him Mr. Irrelevant. Now, everyone has to understand this. When they're giving Brock Purdy all this crap, they got to understand that Brock Purdy had to go behind 2 quarterbacks the year before and this year. They gave Brock, you got to go with a hot hand. After the NFC Championship, when he was hurt in Philadelphia and he had to have surgery, there was questions about the surgery. There was questions about that. Of course, you're going to have questions about that. It was a major surgery. I get it. But you have to still go with the hot hand. The man played very, very, very well towards the tail end of the season, got to the NFC Championship. Why in the world would you sit that man down? And of course, Sam Darnold comes, Trey Lance comes. There's the question between who you're going to start. Trey Lance was the 3rd pick, and Sam Darnold came over from Carolina. They put Sam Darnold 2nd, put Brock Purdy 1st, and then, of course, Trey Lance did not like the fact he was a 3rd-string quarterback, and he gets traded. There were so many people saying that Trey Lance didn't get a fair shake. He didn't get a chance. He didn't get this, and I get it. He got hurt. It happens. That's the game. He got traded away, and here we are. Brock Purdy has a full year to play. He played a full year of football, and the man got to another NFC Championship, and he's going to a Super Bowl. That man played his tail off this year. Leave that man alone. They're judging him like he's a first-round pick.
I know.
Why?
I know.
For what? For what? The man is a 7th-round pick. Joe Montana was a 3rd-round pick. Anybody remember that? And here's the fun part here. Joe Montana had John Taylor and Dwight Clark, had Jerry Rice, had Roger Craig, had Tom Rathman, had an offense that was catered to that man's ability. But Brock Purdy has Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, CMC, has Juszczyk, has George Kittle. Oh, but he's held by an offense that's better. Put him with another offense and he won't win. No crap. He's a 7th-round pick. He wasn't supposed to be starting. The man exceeded expectations. So here's my question right here for some people. Was Trey Lance that bad, or was Brock Purdy that good?
Man, honestly, I think Trey Lance was probably. I think Brock Purdy was that good because I think Trey Lance could have grown into the role of being a pretty good quarterback. I don't know if you agree with me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what? I can understand that. I can. But Brock Purdy was not supposed to be what Brock Purdy was. He was not. And so
Yeah.
the fact that he gets the crap that he's getting really kind of gets on my nerves a little bit, because you're judging him like he's a first round pick. You're judging him like he was picked. 8 quarterbacks were drafted before Brock Purdy in the 2002 draft.
Right.
Kenny Pickett, who went 20th to Pittsburgh. Desmond Ridder, who went 74th to Atlanta. Malik Willis, who went 86th to Tennessee. Matt Corral, who went 94th to Carolina. Bailey Zappi, I think that's how you say his last name. He went to New England.
Yeah.
In 137th pick. Sam Howell, who was the most sacked quarterback this year, went to and he went to Carolina. Of course, he went to he was a Tar Heel. You know, of course, I'm a Tar Heel, and he went 144th to Washington. Pittsburgh drafted another quarterback, Chris Oladokin, I believe is how he said his name, and Skylar Thompson got drafted. To
I remember Skylar Thompson. Yeah, he's a backup for Miami. Yeah.
Of those quarterbacks that were drafted, 3 of them went to the playoffs. One was Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
One of them was Brock Purdy. Skylar Thompson went last year and had to be forced into the game when Miami lost their quarterbacks, and Kenny Pickett went this year with Mike Tomlin, who is a coaching goat, who's the man. I got to give it to Mike Tomlin. I love that dude. I really do. But those guys right there got drafted before Brock Purdy, and Brock Purdy's going to the Super Bowl.
That's true. That's true. I mean,
talk to me.
It's just like in this performance that he had, that second half for him was more of what we had been accustomed. Oh, I like that gallon water bottle. Are you a gym bro? Are you like a gym goer?
I am, man.
Okay.
I am.
Okay.
I am.
Yeah, I go to the gym as well. I go to the gym as well, and I was like, I bet he goes to the gym with that gallon water bottle. Back to the topic. So basically, second half, it's like he got into that form that we were accustomed to seeing all year. It's like first half, it's like, I mean, this was kind of more of the same from the Packers game, and then it's just like, I was like, where has this offense gone? You know, where is it? What did it just disappear from this season? Did it just go? Because it just wasn't as explosive. And then I was also expecting, the Lions defense, I feel like they were playing kind of out of form a little bit in the first half. It's like they were doing really well.
They were.
And then it's just what we saw in the second half from Brock Purdy, from the 49ers offense, was what I expected us to see all game long. And that's why I picked them to win. And it's funny because I picked the Niners to win 30-28. They ended up winning 34-31. So it was pretty close to what I picked. So I just want to give myself a quick shout out. But I'm just like, the second half adjustments in this game were elite from Kyle Shanahan. And I think it's because he started, maybe, I don't know, even I'd have to go back and watch it. I think he did start attacking the middle of the field a little bit more. He started, what did you see in this game?
What I saw in this game was a continuous effort. Okay, the hustle play from Brandon Ayuk was another thing also too. That's why you always practice the tip drill in practice.
Yeah.
That's why you do, because that was a heads up play and he did not give up on that play. That to me was a turning point there. That play was a turning point. Brandon Ayuk has been balling all year. I don't care what anyone says.
Oh yeah.
You know, you get lost with Deebo Samuel. You do. And CMC, you get lost with those guys. Brandon Ayuk is like the John Taylor of this
Yeah.
offense. He is the second guy to Jerry Rice, of course. Brandon Ayuk was drafted and tailor-made for this team because he's that type of receiver. He's that guy. I think that he is being the second guy. The man has caught 1,000 yards. He went over, correct me if I'm wrong, he went over 1,200 yards this year receiving, I believe. I think he did. And
yeah, I think it was close to 1,300.
Yes. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Because he's been balling all year. Even in the absence of
Mhm.
Debo, he's been balling all year. So there's no separation between the two. These are two wonderful receivers. And he caught the lone touchdown. He caught the touchdown in this game that was big. The other two going to CMC, but he was one of the ones that opened it up there. He got that touchdown, and that touchdown was clutch because the passing game was lagging. You also got to give it to Brock Purdy's ability to improvise. These quarterbacks nowadays, if you don't have the ability to improvise with your feet, forget about it, because these defenses are so different than what they were 10 years ago. These defenses are different. These offensive lines have got to be different as well, too. You don't have just a bunch of big fat guys like they were in the 90s when I was watching football. You don't have those guys like that anymore. You have guys that can move about on that line. The defenses have gotten better. You got defensive linemen running 4.3s and 4.4s. You got linebackers that are fast. You've got different defenses being thrown at you. If you cannot improvise with your feet as a quarterback, then you can forget about it. You can forfeit the game. There's no way you can make it. That's why your Aaron Rodgers quarterback is going to be a good quarterback, because he knows how to improvise with his feet. He can get those 5, 6, 7, 8 yards. Brock Purdy was running for first downs in this game.
Right.
He's a scrambling quarterback, but he's not Lamar Jackson. He's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not one of those guys who's very, very fast, can win a foot race with you. He's quick. He's got quick feet. He's got knowledgeable feet, and he can stretch for the extra yard. He was doing that. It was the effort play. It was the hustle plays that's what did it. You can't really equate it to one play. It's just one big, giant hustle by that team, and that's what did it, was the giant hustle for that offense.
Yeah, correct. I will say, I feel like now that I'm kind of starting to go back and recollect my thoughts, we started off early in the second half and around a Debo, kind of getting Debo the ball just more on like just gimme plays, you know? I believe we started off with like a screen end around to Debo, something like that. And then over the middle to George Kittle. So we started off just going back to what works a little bit more. The Lions run game, I feel like in that first half, Kyle Shanahan was trying to run the ball, but their run game is good. I will give it to them. Like the Lions run game is legit in this game. And so Kyle Shanahan, unlike with with Jimmy Garoppolo, he took the brakes off of Brock Purdy. And he said, the only way we win this game, we can't win this game like we used to with Jimmy Garoppolo, with just running the ball and being a physical defensive team. We have to win this game by giving you the keys and the reins. And by doing that in the second half, it wasn't like we were scoring a ton of big plays. We were just methodically going down the field like we usually do. And that was keeping time of possession away from the Lions. A big reason why the first half, it's like, I should have looked what the time of possession was, but our defense was out on the field a lot. The Lions were controlling time of possession. In the second half, we said, we're going to go back to kind of what works. We're going to hand the keys a little bit to Brock Purdy, and he showed up and showed out. Clutch.
Yes. It's continuation, and that's what it was. It was continuation. We were continuing the drives, and that's what's doing it. Continuation is what's going to do it. You may not be getting touchdowns every single time, but you're continuing your drive. You're getting that first down. You're getting those first downs, and that's what was going on, and that was the lack thereof in the first half. The second half, it was continuation all day long because they went 15 minutes time of possession.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So let's get to some of the comments. You guys are still here. These were quite a while ago, so I apologize. But David McNiner says, yeah, buddy, Mahomes and the Swifties are up next. Man, I kind of wanted the Ravens to win just for that reason. And I know that the Ravens provide a terrible matchup for us, but
They do. They do.
if the NFL is rigged, wouldn't the Chiefs be the one to win again?
Of course.
I don't know.
Of course they
Yeah.
would. I mean, but the thing about it is that this is a different Chiefs team than what we've been seeing. I mean, because it's not been their offense, it's been their defense. It's been a sneaky good defense that has won games for them. And they're a dirtier Chiefs team.
Oh, yeah.
So they're dirty as in, gritty. They're tough. They're a tougher team. And so that spells trouble as well, too. But I think that our guys can be tougher. They've shown that they're tougher in these past 2 games.
Yes, sir. We'll break that down in just a second. David McNiner, more of the continuation of the matchup in a few topics, but David McNiner says 17-point comeback. This team is different. Can't wait to see what the talking heads come up with to dog Brock Purdy this week. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, Niner sir. Fanatic podcast. Purdy was that good. He was. I think we can stop with that narrative. Yes, Nathaniel Arias says Purdy is only as good. Purdy is only as good as what's around him. He also fits that system. I believe you're a Lions fan, so you're probably inclined to believe that because I believe you came over from Lions Syndicate's channel. So
but still, but with that being said, a lot of people really got to get that out of their minds right there. Yes, of course, but this is a team game. Football's a team game. What do you want to do? You want to put Tom Brady in with the Panthers offense this year, and I'm pretty sure Tom Brady will not win any games with the Panthers offense this year. So you can put anybody on that offense. And tell me you're going to get the same result. There's no way. I mean, don't come with that, man. You stop it. Come on.
I am drinking.
I mean, come on. It's a team game. You need the team.
Yeah, I'm drinking so much water right now because I am like my mouth is dry and fired up right now. Yes, I agree about the team. I don't know why I came up with that, but I was like, I apologize if I keep drinking water. I'm just like,
you're good.
I'm crazy right now.
You're
fine. Niner Fanatic podcast says Purdy runs the offense better than anyone other than Matt Ryan. Really? I mean, I would have to go back and kind of look at what he did in that year that Kyle Shanahan was the offensive coordinator. But maybe, I mean, do you think I don't know. It was so long ago that you would probably have to go back and look at all the games, but I don't know. Maybe Purdy was better. Yeah.
I agree with that to a certain extent. I do agree with that. I mean, Matt Ryan, of course, had such a spectacular arm, and the way that offense was, Julio Jones on that offense, Julio was a heck of a receiver. That offense was a very great offense. And I think that the way that offense was built is what did it, because you had so many pieces on that offense with that Atlanta offense as well, too. And Matt Ryan had MVP numbers and was an MVP under that offense at one point in time, went to a Super Bowl and all those great things. So, I mean, that's an argument. That's an argument, man. I mean, I like it. I do.
Yeah, for sure. Von D Gaming, he's a Lions fan. He says, GG's, Niners. Yeah, I mean, it was a good game. You guys played well. The thing I will say with the Lions is I feel like they're definitely, and I know every person when, they've just beaten another team says this, it's like they're going to be back. And this is kind of cliche, but they're going to be back.
Right.
They have a very young core.
They will.
And it's like they have a lot of guys on rookie contracts. They have a lot of guys who are learning. Technically you could call him almost a rookie coach, not really, but kind of like a more new coach to this. I'd love to kind of tune into a few Lions content creators when they eventually do go live and see what their thoughts are on the game, because I feel like I'm wondering if they would think, maybe Dan Campbell was part of his play calling at the end was part of the reason why they lost this game. I'd be interested to see what these fans, Lions fans and Lions content creators would think. So I'm definitely, if you guys are in the comments
I
and you're a
like
Lion,
Dan Campbell.
yeah.
Yeah, I like Dan Campbell. I do. I mean, he's a fiery coach and he's a very emotional coach and he's a player's coach. That's what I like about him.
Well, and I mean, most of the time his aggressiveness had kind of paid off. I mean, this was really the first game where it's like,
yeah.
And I guess the Cowboys game as well, it didn't pay off, but that was kind of a stupid ref game as well. So.
Yeah, it was.
We'll leave it at that. Boom Broadcasting says, we love podcasts. Smitty, thank you for coming in. Calvin's Hobbs says, defense started to play better in the second half, only 7 points allowed. Campbell moved away from the run for some reason. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like they were killing us. Jahmyr Gibbs, man, and David Montgomery. Their run game is no joke. And the reason why I thought we were going to beat them and start off a little bit faster was because I thought, yeah, they have a great offense, but we have a great offense too. And their defense is not great.
Yes.
So it's like, and so the way we came out, I was like, oh my gosh, this is awful. But yeah.
Flat. Come out flat, man. It was
It was doo-doo. It was garbage.
Yeah. It was, yes.
If the NFL was rigged, Cowboys would be in at least one.
Yo, my good friend, my friend Kirk said that. My friend Kirk, he honestly said that. He said, dude, I don't think it is, because if it was, then the Cowboys would be winning. They'd be in the Super Bowl. But the league doesn't like the Cowboys. He said, but the league loves money. And I'm like, checkmate.
Yeah, good point. So we have to, let's get back to these topics. I know that you wanted to cover this. Whether the 49ers, I need to actually update this topic. I forgot to. I was making these topics last night before the game even happened. But the 49ers won. What are your comparisons to this team, to some of our more successful franchise teams? Again, this is one of the more successful teams that I've seen in my lifetime, but you're obviously a lot older, so you've probably seen more of the. So when did you, you said this at the beginning of the show, but when did you again start becoming? Was it the Montana days? It was, or no?
I began when I was 5 years old, and that was the year that Joe Montana hurt himself and Steve Young came in and was the heir apparent. I love Jerry Rice. Like, Jerry Rice was my favorite player, and I fell in love with Jerry Rice, the way he played the game. And I was like, I'm going to be Jerry Rice one day. I thought he was incredible. Then I started looking at the team, wanted to throw the ball left-handed like Steve Young. I love John Taylor. I loved Ronnie Lott. I love Prime Time.
Yeah.
That was my dude. I love Prime. And I love that team, just the identity of that team, the way George Seifert, Bill Walsh coached that squad. I'm big, and I'm 37, by the way, too. So that's the reason why. So yeah, so that I've watched a little bit of Montana. I watched Young. I watched Garcia, Alex Smith, Colin Kaepernick, Garoppolo, own up to Brock Purdy. I've seen a fair share of quarterbacks. And so this squad reminds me of the squad that Steve Young had the year that they won when they were battling with the Cowboys for the supremacy of the NFC. So, like I said, Brandon Ayuk reminds me of John Taylor. Debo would be like Jerry Rice. At that time, Ricky Waters was the running back, and CMC is not like Ricky Waters, but CMC is like Roger Craig. Mm-hmm. That receiving running back who can run the football as well too. Kyle Juszczyk is Tom Rathman. They wear the same number. He's that same fullback mentality as Tom Rathman, but only he's more athletic than Tom Rathman ever was. And that defense, you've got like the Charles Haley mentality with Greenlaw. You've got so many intangibles to that squad that was a winning squad. You can go back, but that squad is tailor fit like the '90s squad that was going back and forth with the Cowboys every year.
I tend to agree with you, although I was not alive then, but I have watched some of those Super Bowl teams and they were definitely fun to watch for sure.
Yes.
I will say though, it's like this squad, this squad definitely, like, we're facing the Chiefs again, right? But this squad this time is like a lot more experience for sure. And I think we do have a better quarterback than what we did in 2019 and running back as well. The defense might maybe a slight step down. Well, that's even debatable because I think our secondary is better than what we were in that year for sure.
Yes.
So now if Ambry Thomas doesn't play, which that's huge, then maybe it takes a step down, but I still think it's better.
I think so. Mm-hmm.
So Calvin's Hobbs says Ben Johnson had 4 interviews this week for coaching. If that hurt their offense even a little bit towards the end of the game, I think he was meaning. Thanks for that.
Well, he's going to Washington. I mean, he's going to be coaching the Commanders next year. I think that he's got that job.
Yeah, he has a lot of work to do there, for sure. Because that is I'm not going to say anymore, but that is a terrible organization to go to.
They play.
Although the new ownership
gauntlet of a conference. They play in the gauntlet of a conference as well too, with Dallas and Philadelphia. I mean, the Giants, you can't really say much. The Gabagool with Tommy Vito or whoever's going to be starting the quarterback. So
okay, so do you know I actually did a show with a guy who was from Scranton, Pennsylvania, one time?
No, actually, no. Tell me.
No. So, his name is Chase Sr. I believe that's the guy who was from Scranton, Pennsylvania. And he was like, I'm from Scranton. So I can't remember. He grew up around Steelers fans or whatever. We were talking about that. I was like, yo, that's crazy. Because it's like, I feel like that's not like other than like it becoming famous from The Office, I feel like it's not the biggest town. I don't know. I've never been there, but I don't think it's a huge city. So it's like when you meet someone from there, I'm like,
nah.
So,
cool.
Let's get to breaking down the Chiefs versus Ravens game. What did you see? I'm assuming you watched this game. Otherwise, we do not have to cover it. But what did you see from this game? It was definitely not as exciting as the Niners versus Lions game. But I mean, it was still one of those, it was kind of a shock of a game because Chiefs, it's like the Ravens, everything I thought that they were going to do. It's just, they didn't get anything done on offense. I believe that they had 4 completions at the beginning of the fourth quarter. I believe it was.
Yes.
And most of those were to Zay Flowers. It was insane. And it's like coming into this game, I projected the Ravens to win because Lamar Jackson was they can beat you in so many different ways offensively. Their defense flies around the field. And they're just such a talented team. In this game, it's like what the Chiefs defense did was they were clogging the A and B gaps between the center and the guard. And that's where Lamar Jackson is so lethal, is when he's running up the middle, when he's getting those yards up the middle. Instead, they were clogging those gaps and sending blitzes after him up the middle. Just the pressure up the middle was crazy. Sending blitzes and forcing him to go outside, look downfield. The coverage was really good, which is the Chiefs' defense this year has been the underlying factor, like you said earlier, for them. But they also not only were sending blitzes, but were disguising blitzes. I mean, a cornerback would creep up, or like a nickel corner, whatever linebacker would creep up to the line of scrimmage, last second back off. So this game to me kind of solidified why Steve Spagnuolo, or however you say his last name, is the
Yep, you're
best
right.
defensive
You're right.
coordinator by far in the league, because the game plan in this game was masterful. And I also want to say one more thing about Zay Flowers, because I'm not letting you off the hook. You were like the arsonist and the firefighter at the same time.
I saw that
Especially in
tweet,
those
man. I saw that tweet.
Yeah. Yeah, especially in those last few drives. It's like one of the drives, it's like he gets this big catch downfield, and then he gets another catch and brings it down to like the 4-yard line, and then he gets another crosser route and fumbles it in the end zone. I'm like, you got your team single-handedly down here, and then you just fumble it. And that's why I tweeted that, because I was like, bro, what? Yeah. So anyways, go ahead.
That's rough, man. That was rough. But I expected a game like that to happen, because I think, okay, when the Ravens lost to Cleveland in the regular season, Cleveland's defense was lights out this year. So that's what I saw out of this. I was like, when they play defenses like this, it's hard for Lamar Jackson to do what he does. And so I saw the Chiefs playing defense. I didn't expect a finesse game. I didn't expect Patrick Mahomes to go nuts on offense. I didn't expect that, because I knew the Ravens were going to come after him as well, too, because you got two masterful quarterbacks playing each other right now. And one of those guys is going to have to come away with a win. And it so happens that it was Patrick Mahomes. But I've said this, even in their wild card game, playoff Mahomes is an animal. When he chipped that helmet, I was like, yo, Patrick Mahomes is for real. If you think that they're having an off year this year, think again. It's just the defense is just overshadowing the offense, and Tyreek Hill decided to take the bag and go to Miami. So that's what's doing it. It's not the fact that they took a step back as a team. It's just the team changed its identity. And that's okay. If you're getting results, then that's fine. They played very, very hard. They did play in the cupcake of a division. Yes, they did. I will say that.
Yeah.
Judging by someone who covers a team who played in a cupcake division this year. So I can say,
if you guys don't know, he covers primarily the Panthers. And real quick, to shout out his channel again, go check out Tobacco Road Sports Radio, the Cat Cave, and his socials in the description. Go ahead. Sorry, I just need to put that in there one more time.
Hey, no problem, man. I appreciate that. Though that's one of those things that you look at, because this team changed its identity because the way that their defense is played, and that's good, because it stopped Lamar Jackson from getting those MVP numbers the way it was. But I saw a rock'em sock'em game all day long, and that's exactly what we got. It's good for football fans. It may not be good for your fan, but for the football fan that's X's and O's and loves a smash mouth football game, you love that.
Right. I mean, Isaiah Pacheco, Niners, he's gonna be someone that I feel like when he's used right, he might be like, especially if the Chiefs don't go away from the run game in this next game, like the Lions did a little bit, and I feel like he's going to be a huge problem for the Niners, just like these problems that were for the Lions, like that were amplified during this Lions game. Those problems are going to be amplified because in this Super Bowl, because I think Andy Reid is obviously a better coach than Dan Campbell. He's going to find ways to increase, just make those problems even worse for the 49ers. So Pacheco is a guy to watch out for. I know we need to still break down that game. I will say defensively, it's just like the Chiefs knew that. I mean, the Ravens, it's like their run defense isn't as good. I feel like as their pass defense, like their cornerbacks, they have a really deep level, like a lot of depth at their cornerback position. But their run game, if you look, it's like the middle of their defensive line isn't as strong as if you look at PFF, their run grades. And so the Chiefs kind of really exploited that. And especially in that end of the game, it's like they were ahead and they just kept running it up the middle, especially to end that game. It's like the Ravens needed to stop. The Chiefs just pounded it up the middle with Pacheco. And those problems that were amplified in this game by the Ravens are going to be issues that are amplified in the next game with the Niners, because the Niners and Ravens actually have a very similar weakness as far as the defensive line goes, which is running it up the middle and gashing them up the middle, being physical. So,
yeah,
I honestly think
are a physical squad.
Yeah, go ahead.
They are. No, you're good. You're good. Go ahead.
But I guess this is kind of a real quick. We should break down this matchup. Just a quick look forward to in 2 weeks from now. I just kind of laid out already a matchup, but I do want to say that I feel like things are going to get a lot harder, especially against this Chiefs team, because it's like the Chiefs have a good offensive line too. The Lions had a good offensive line. The Chiefs receivers maybe aren't as dominant, but like used in the right way with Patrick Mahomes, who's a better QB, who can scramble. I feel like there were times in this game where like Jared Goff, especially in the second half, a lot of passes that were behind the receivers that caused them to drop it, a lot of passes that were short. That's not going to kind of be the case versus Patrick Mahomes, because he can throw it on the run. He can throw it off platform. So you're going to have to come up with other ways to stop him. And then defensively, it's like we said before, their defensive end, the way that they are the most creative defensive team in the league with blitzes, everything else. Their defensive ends, Chris Jones, obviously, which, the right side of that offensive line I've been complaining about for the 49ers all year long, could be a big problem in this game. So what do you think? Yeah.
It's going to come down to physicality. I think in a game like this, it's going to come down to who is more physical. And it's proven in this game that we just finished that whoever's going to hit the hardest is more than likely going to win. And that, to me, is something that the Chiefs do very well, is they'll hit you. And they'll hit you on offense. They'll hit you on defense. And so, to me, that's what it's going to be coming down to, sheer physicality. You've got to be more physical. You got to hit them where it hurts, especially when it comes down to what you were talking about with our defense, when it comes down to the run defense, hitting us up the middle. Pacheco is a guy that wants to hit you when he runs. And those running backs are few and far between nowadays with the way these offenses are changing, because it's a passing league now. But when you have every once in a while, every team has that running back that's going to run to hit you, that's going to be a headhunter. And Pacheco is that guy. He can do that. And I think he brings that gritty mentality to that offense. And the defense on top of that, the defense is even more grittier. So this is going to be a low-scoring game. This is going to be a Super Bowl that football fans are going to like. I think it's going to be a game that is going to come down to X's and O's. It's going to come down to somebody getting a hat on someone. It's going to come down to trench fights. It's going to come down to a game of inches, like Al Pacino said in Any Given Sunday. It's a game of inches, and you got to fight for that inch. And these guys have got to do that in that game.
Yeah, I agree. Defensively, it's like Lions didn't have a ton of talent, and that showed in the second half. The big reason why the Ravens were able to beat the Niners is because their secondary was getting after him. The blitzes were coming from everywhere. And so I want to see within these next 2 weeks, Brock Purdy put his head down, get in the playbook, and really try to come into this Chiefs game more prepared than he was in that Ravens game, because I think they're going to throw a lot of the same things that the Ravens did in that Christmas Day matchup. And that's obviously blitzing from everywhere on the field, whether it be the cornerbacks coming in, them, like what I saw in that Ravens game on Christmas Day. It's like there would be a cornerback who was covering or pretending to be covering a receiver on the Niners, and then he'd all of a sudden just go straight at Brock Purdy. So it's like you have to kind of just be prepared for that. But if he plays the way, also do not get off to a slow start, because Patrick Mahomes with a lead, that's over for you. So I think you have to come out in this. And I told the people that I was watching the game with, the Niners are our second half team. in this game, you have to be you have to come out with your best foot forward. Because I know, you don't want to, you want to play your cards close to the vest early on. But I feel like if you do that in this game, you have to, you're going to get down and you're going to lose because it's Patrick Mahomes. But to be fair, I think the Niners, because it's in a dome, I feel like it does benefit them a little bit more, because I do feel like we're moving more and more, especially since we have Brock Purdy, we're moving more and more to that kind of offense that's like, we're really good when it like no weather. So
true.
Yeah.
The thing that I look at as well too in this game is, yes, you got Patrick Mahomes, who is, I would say, in my opinion, my humble opinion, the best quarterback in the league, regardless of stats, regardless of anything.
Of all time.
Patrick Mahomes is. Yeah, you know what? You gotta put him in the GOAT conversation. You do. When it comes down to skills, when it comes down to actually skills and what you want as intangibles and tangibles as a quarterback, you got to put him in that conversation. You do. And so I love Pat. I love the way he plays. He's showing his grit this year more than anything, which is what I like to see in players. I like to see you get dirty. I like to see your grit. I don't want you being the pretty boy. I mean, Brock is showing his grit, and I'm liking him a lot more in these past two games, is because he's going out there and getting it. He's not waiting for his guys to come to him. He's going out there and getting it, because you know how sometimes coaches are like, well, let the game come to you. Let the game come to you. No, Brock's like, no, I'm going out there and getting it. And I like that, because you have to show that as a player, especially if you're a leader. You got to show that you're going to come and get this game. Yeah, it's not going to go well. You know, the Green Bay game didn't go well for him, but he went out there and he got it. And this game was not going well for him either. You were facing a 17-point deficit, and he went out there and he went and got that game. Whether they want to give him credit for that or not, he went out there and got that game. So give credit where credit is due. But see, in this game here, with a player like Patrick Mahomes, with a team like this, you don't really look at regular season stats. Oh, this defense is number 2 in the league, or this defense is number 13 in the league. It all comes down to making stops. It all comes down to making stops. It all comes down to stopping these players in key downs, in different parts of the field, like the red zone. You're going to let yards by. You're going to let scores by. You're going to let things by in the playoffs, because, you know, you're biting, scratching, clawing all day long. You throw stats out the window and just go out there and make plays. That's what you do.
It'll be interesting. I never thought that, honestly. I didn't think the Chiefs would make it to this point. I thought they had flaws, but you can never count out Patrick Mahomes. And now we can probably put the Super Bowl theory of the Ravens. So did you see, you're in our fantasy football group chat, correct?
I did.
A few days ago, I saw the logo. It's like the different colors of the Super Bowl logo for that year. Who's going to be in the Super Bowl? Well, this year, the Super Bowl logo, if you guys don't know, was purple and red. And so I was like, hey, 49ers Ravens rematch. But we can put that to bed, I guess. And honestly, to close out this show, I'm glad that that we get another week of Niners football. I'm glad, obviously, because it would have sucked to lose at this point. And I was saying to the person that was watching, or a few people that were watching it with me, this Lions game, it's like, do we really want to see a Lions-Chiefs Super Bowl? Just for like, even ratings, I feel like it would just not be as good. I don't know. Maybe that's just my bias.
You know,
nobody wants to see that.
Right. You're right. You're absolutely right, man. It's like, come on, man. I mean, if it was rigged and scripted, this is not the script they wanted.
You really think so?
No, it's not what they didn't want that. Now the story is pretty cool. I'm a wrestling fan, so I like a good storyline. So Detroit not going to it's like their second Super Bowl in franchise history. You know, they won their first playoff game in 30 years, you know, a couple weeks ago. And then you've got the juggernaut Chiefs who've been there before. David and Goliath. It's a good storyline. I mean, I like the storyline, but then again, how many David and Goliath stories have we seen in the history of forever?
Exactly. Yeah.
So come on, man. It's getting a little old, a little washed. A good David and Goliath story is good like every 10 years, but not every 2 years.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the Eagles beating the Patriots, I feel like, was a David and Goliath story 5 years or 6 years ago, whatever it was. But we want to see our team in the Super Bowl, and that is what happened. Tell them one more time where they can find you, and we're going to get out of your guys' hair. For all the people who tuned in tonight, thank you. I'll be back later on this week, but tell them where they can find you one more time.
Catch me in the Cat Cave with Tobacco Road Sports Radio. We go every Wednesday. We go at different times. We're on different radio airwaves. I'll be dropping that. I'll be dropping the link to our shows every time on my Twitter, which is Podcast Smitty. Hopefully, if me and Ben here talk a little bit, you might see us again one more time. Who knows? But for the most part, Podcast Smitty at twitter.com, X, whatever you want to call it now. That's where you can find me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Real quick, before we get out of here, I just wanted to ask you this quick question. Do you follow Grant Cohn? I'm sure you do.
I don't, actually.
You don't?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
Well, if you want a little bit of an anti-pessimistic 49ers reporter, go check him out. I just was like, I wonder if you follow him, because most people do. And he's the guy who, when I come to, like, I've done a show with him a few times, but he's the guy when I watch him, he's the guy, and I have high spirits and I'm optimistic. He's the guy who waters it down for me. And so he's like, he keeps my view on the Niners a little bit more pessimistic. But everyone, have a good rest of your night. The Niners get this win 34-31 to the Lions. They play in the Super Bowl versus the Chiefs in 2 weeks. I cannot wait. Go Niners.
Yes, sir.
Have a good rest of your night, everyone.
Bang, bang,
and I'll be adding
gang.
Yeah, bang, bang, Niner gang. I'll be adding some show notes after this show has concluded. So if you guys want to go to a specific part of the stream, I'll be adding those soon, show notes. And then if you guys want to get into live shows like what you've seen here, StreamYard is definitely the place to go. It's very simple for beginners if you're just starting out. So if you want a streaming service, go to StreamYard, link in the description, get $10 off your first purchase, or it's completely free as well. You can do the free version, whatever you want. It's there. Go to StreamYard, everyone. Have a good rest of your night. Go Niners. We're in the Super Bowl. Good night.